More Sean Cody and the great John Jackson makes his triumphant return to Trojans Live. Our buddies hosted all these shows with me, and it's so great to see you back up here, JJ. And, you know, so many people have sort of heard your story over the last 8 months or 9 months, whatever it's been, almost 10 months now even. But there was a big feature about it last week, and so I'm sure you heard from all different kinds of people maybe that didn't know the full story. What's the reaction been like, and just your connections with people as you've been going through this?
Well, I tell you, a lot of times, until you go through something that I've gone through, which is, back-to-back strokes, you don't realize how many people love you. And that's sort of the best thing that has happened for me or to me is that, throughout all of the things that have gone on, I found out how many people love me, how many people have called, and all the blessings and prayers that have been sent out. I think that's no doubt one reason why I'm sitting here today is because of all the love that has come from, not from, me, but from all the people around me, family, friends, and all that. That's been the best part about this thing. It's been the hardest thing to take because I have to, discussing it is still sort of brings me to tears a little bit. But the fact that I've made it through it and continue to get better and have as many people, I didn't realize that many people love me is the truth. I mean, but it has been, I would not recommend it. There's probably an easier way to find out how many people love you. Maybe call them and ask. But this has truly been an experience that has taught me, what it's like to have family, friends, and how important it is.
JJ, I was there in the booth when you got to see your son run out. It was an emotional moment, I guess, for all of us. We were sitting there, and it was tough for all of us. So I don't want to read that because I might start crying again. JJ, I want to look at the team with you, man. Let's talk about the team a little bit. What are your takeaways kind of from the 5 weeks you've seen the Trojans, everyone kind of get to reset after a bye week? What's been your takeaways for the team this year?
Well, I think that the most important thing is they have to realize that they're still in it for everything, I mean, every year when you come to USC, you're playing for a national championship. At least that's what they preach. And right now, this team, in my opinion, is still playing for a national championship. Now, will it be tough? The Pac-12 doesn't get the respect that it deserves. But if you run the table, win the Pac-12 championship, I don't know how this team doesn't make it to the national championship, Final Four. And that is really the goal every single season, is to win a national championship. And I think it's important for these guys to sort of reset a little bit and sort of say, look, we're still in this. There's a lot to play for. There's a lot to win. And the same goals you had at the beginning of the year, which are national championship, are still in front of you, but you have to play well to do it. And, that's USC football. There's always pressure. You have to play well. And then, so I think that's really the most important thing that this team needs to realize. And, I think if I was a player on this team or a captain, that would be the thing I'd preach to this team so everybody understands where we're at. Because a lot of times when you get in the season, especially now during the middle of the season, you just try to grind it through week by week, just play week by week. And oftentimes I think you need to reset and understand where you're actually at or, where we're actually at. They lost the last game, of course, so, that obviously leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. But even with that, there's still a lot to play for and a lot to grind it out for. But I think that as a team, you have to realize it.
But, JJ, I've been stuck all season next to Sean, who's just talking nothing but defensive line. I mean, we got to hear about the defensive line play week in and week out. So I need some real offensive expertise here. I would imagine you would have loved to play in an offense like the one Graham Harrell has dialed up here that your son gets to play in. What do you think about what you've seen from USC offensively, sort of when it's worked and when it's been slowed down a little bit?
Well, the thing that I've told all USC fans that I've talked to, my friends that I've talked to about it, is you have to understand this is a different style of football. It sort of goes back to, and I hate to make the comparison, and it's not a comparison, it goes back to high school football and the Centennial Huskies. They don't, people got to get used to a different style of football. And I think this style of football, when it's at its best, is we're racing to 45, right? First team to 45 wins. And so I think that as an offense, even as a team, and even as a defense, understand that we're opening it up, we're spreading it out, and we're scoring points. And if the other team can score 45 or 47 or 48, they win. But if they don't, they lose because we're going to 45. And I think that's where this team needs to understand is they need to understand offensively. They need to let it go, open up the offense, spread things out, open up the run lanes. And by doing that, you're opening up with the quick pass and the short passing game. Now, you have to be efficient. Guys have to catch the ball. They need to, be good at run after catch. There's a lot of things that have to happen from a player perspective, but if they all happen and all those things line up in a row, then that's when this offense is at its best. You have to get away from conventional football. All the old school guys want to hear about, let's run the ball and 4 yards a carry. Let's average 4 yards a carry. That is not what this offense is about. No. This offense needs to open it up. You got a bunch of receivers, and you have to say that your receivers that you've recruited, which all these guys are 4 or 5 star guys, are better than any defensive secondary you're going to face. And when you get that understanding and you say that we're going to score points and that's how we got to open it up and score points and everybody's on board, then you understand if you don't get off to a good start, let's say you get down by 10. Yeah. No big deal because we're playing to 45. Right? You don't want to get down by 10, trust me, but you have to understand it's a different style of football in order for this team to be successful, in my opinion.
All right, well, they're calling it basketball on grass. That's what you're talking about, and we're going to have some basketball players up here next, and then JJ will be back with his son later on. It's been a while since the Trojans were home, but they did have a nice bye week last week. I'll let each of you answer this one. They're getting 3 key players back, Keaton Slovis, Elijah Griffin, Talanoa Hufanga. Who's the biggest of the 3 for you?
For me, it's Talanoa. I think he was up until this point, your defensive MVP, your surest tackler. I think the defense has really played well when he's been on the field, and I think it'll pick up when he comes back out there. I think OG's had a phenomenal start to his young career. It was a big question mark going into the season what that secondary was going to do.
His numbers are good, though. He's held up nicely.
And I think that secondary under Greg Burns has really played better than expected this year.
You didn't even mention the quarterback. Who are you taking, JJ? Talanoa, OG, or Keaton as the
Well, I'll take Keaton Slovis, and the main reason is because I think that offense wins this game, or it's going to have to win this game. You're going to have to outscore Notre Dame. There's going to come a point in this game you have to make a decision as a coach. Are you going to try to play defense, or are you going to try to outscore them? I think you go into the game trying to outscore them because I think Notre Dame's going to put up points, and you're going to have to answer them.
This is coming from an offensive JJ.
Well, this is exactly what this show's been missing, is the offensive game plan right there from John Jackson. And Keaton Slovis' accuracy, I think, is certainly going to be huge because I don't think you'll see a lot of receivers on islands or, big holes to throw into. If the game last year, JT was really good in that first half, and it was that sort of short passing game that Keaton, at his best in the Stanford game, showed he can do.
Yeah, I think that's what Graham Harrell likes about what Keaton can do. He possesses that accurate short to middle ball that you can find in the zones, and that's what they're going to have to do. But they're going to have to take care of the ball in this game. I think you listen to Coach Helton talk about it. You look at the stats and it pops off the charts. Notre Dame creates turnovers and they take care of the ball. That's why they're 4-1 and they play Georgia tough, is because they've taken care of the ball and they created turnovers. And if the Trojans can't go on the road and take care of the ball or create a couple turnovers, then it's going to be a tough day to win that ball game, I think.
And Jordan, equally as important, the defensive line has got to hold up. Notre Dame is going to try to play this game the same way they did a couple years ago.
Where they're just
physical at the line of scrimmage. Yep. They want to make it just a fight in the trenches. So the defensive line, Sean, has got to step up to allow the receivers to win the game.
Yeah, and I think you listen to Brian Kelly, even in some of his interviews already. He's already said that USC possesses. He likes what he sees from USC. And I don't know if he's trying to gas him up.
They do that every week. But listen, he experienced it last week. Notre Dame doesn't give up 285 yards passing, whatever it was, somewhere in that ballpark in one half. So he saw it firsthand and probably said, I don't want to be in that game where just the ball's getting flipped out to Vaughn, Zamenhof, Pittman, and they're doing that dance. They want to play at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I think you have to. Obviously, I think any game in these physical approaches, you have to win at the line of scrimmage. And I think USC is suited better at the defensive front than they may have been the last couple of years.
Are they tough enough, JJ? I mean, you talk to your son a lot. You're close to this team. Do they have the mental toughness that it's going to take to go in there and dig out a win in South Bend?
Well, you
have cold, maybe rainy day.
Exactly. You have to understand the conditions might not be good, but you have to mentally, and that's what I'll tell my son, you have to mentally get past the weather conditions, how cold it is. it's going to be one of those dreary days, overcast.
The leprechaun push-ups.
Yeah, you got to get over the leprechaun push-ups.
They blast the songs now on the sideline. They just put a speaker right by the bench. I mean, it's a real road game. It will be sold out. They sell out every single game. I mean, we talk about some tough road games in the Pac-12. This is different. You've been in South Bend this is different.
Yeah, it's definitely, like we talked about the opening segment. There's an aura to the stadium. You have to figure a way out to get your team mentally locked in to playing football. You can't worry about all this other stuff that's going in. And up to this point in the season, the Trojans haven't been able to do that on these road trips. And they'll be, obviously, after a bye week, you think you can kind of work on those things, and hopefully you can get prepared for this one.
All right, we can't wait to talk about it on Saturday. We will go on at 2:30 Pacific time. The game will kick at 4:30 right here on KABC, AM 790. It'll be a 7:30 kickoff in South Bend. USC Notre Dame. You can watch it on TV as well.